We had a big announcement. One of the things that we're focusing on is making sure we have a workforce for the future. And one of the biggest ways to do that is thinking about career tech. And that's one of the things that sometimes gets left out in the, out of the equation because people are talking about STEM, which is extremely important. And we've been focusing on that for years and people going to college. But there's a lot of jobs out there that craftsmen can do that are well-paying jobs. They're really good jobs for the future. And we want to make sure that we're putting the things in place to do that. So what we're going to do is this program will start recognizing those students that direct that career and technology path in high school. How we mix the core curriculum in with those courses that train them the skills they'll need when they leave to either go on to the community college level to get additional training or whatever it may be so that they can enter the workforce in those craft fields and be very successful.
Erwin Edenson is a model manufacturer. He is a guy who came to this state to take on the job as president of Ingalls Shipbuilding and sent a message from the get-go that he needed a quality workforce. And that he knew that in order to get a quality workforce, not only do we have to focus on training folks who are adults and folks who are in high school and thinking about making career choices, but he became an outspoken supporter of early childhood education, standing up at forums around the state as we took Blueprint on the road and making a real significant statement about what a long-term commitment to education can mean. He has stayed at the table throughout the process, and that's very difficult when you're running the state's largest manufacturing business, Ingalls Shipbuilding. Over 10,000 employees on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Folks, if you've never seen this shipyard, it is an amazing sight. Think about it. It's almost 3 times the size of the Nissan plant. Think about that. But of course, in land area, much bigger than that. And they build the most amazing ships, which are high-tech operations today from flat steel. It is an amazing sight to see. And if you've never been to a ship christening, there isn't anything better to make you feel like an American than to see a ship christened. And a ship commissioning is yet another step in that process. I want to thank Erwin, who's coming up on retirement this year, although he's going to still be with us for quite a while, for really making a difference when it comes to conveying the message of what business needs and how business is willing to help. He doesn't only just talk about it, he rolls up his sleeves and gets the job done. Please join me in welcoming the president of Ingalls Shipbuilding, really a truly great American, Erwin Edenson.
It's indeed been an enjoyable and meaningful experience being a part of Blueprint Mississippi. And it's exciting to see that MEC and its business leadership has remained committed to turning Blueprint goals into reality. One of the goals of Blueprint is to improve our workforce readiness. And in this regard, a small group of leaders from some of the state's largest employers have joined me in working hard over the last few months to develop a program that will move Mississippi forward. Mississippi over the last 2 decades has evolved from a low-skill, low-wage job state to what is more commonly known as a middle-skill economy. These are jobs that require basic communication and math skills, disciplined adherence to process and procedure, as well as the ability to think creatively to help improve products and services. These jobs, like those at our shipyard, pay well. In fact, many of our craftspeople earn beginning salaries higher than the starting salary of a 4-year liberal arts graduate. As the state's largest manufacturing employer, we've made a real commitment to encourage students to pursue work as craftspeople. There we go. Sorry, Blake, technically challenged. At Ingalls, we recently opened the 70,000 square foot Haley Reeves Barber Maritime Training Academy, where we're working in cooperation with the Gulf Coast Community College to train more shipbuilders. Even with this investment, we cannot meet our demand for skilled craftspeople, and it's a problem we have all over the state. Although we value higher education, one of the reasons that we cannot meet this demand is that we as a society, for at least the past 20 years, have not encouraged and recognized students who have chosen to become craftspeople. Welders, joiners, electricians, pipe fitters, carpenters, and manufacturing workers. In the same way, we've recognized those who have chosen an academic course of study leading to a 4-year college education. I'm pleased to announce that this disparity ends today as we announce the creation of the Mississippi Scholars Techmaster Program. Beginning with this school year, MEC will recognize and encourage those students who have chosen to take a course of study that prepares them to contribute to this important segment of our economy. In order to achieve this recognition, students must commit to meeting rigorous standards in curriculum, performance, and citizenship. And in return, they will be recognized at high school awards ceremonies across the state and presented with a coveted medallion, a certificate, and transcript sticker that really means something. Because at Ingalls, we will give these students an edge in hiring, and MEC will encourage other employers to do the same across the state. This year, we'll pilot the program in 7 counties, but over the next 5 years, we will take the program to scale with a goal of reaching every high school student in every community across the state. I would like to thank our Techmaster team who worked so hard in the last few months to develop this new exciting program. They're listed on the slide, and I'd like to ask those who are with us today if they would stand up. Do we have any of the committee here today? We do. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Jean Massey of the State Department of Education for her proactive assistance in helping us bring this program to reality, and Vicki Powell of the MEC's Public Education Forum for her great organizational work as well. Thank you very much, ladies. In closing, let me remind you the words of a great Greek engineer, Archimedes, who said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum strong enough, and I can move the world." The Mississippi Scholars Techmaster Program is the fulcrum. But in order for us to be successful, we as employers must have our hands on the lever to ensure our students see the value of making this commitment and sticking with it. That's where you come in. With your help, we can encourage students to be their best, and in return, we will get qualified employment candidates, provide these young people with career opportunities, and create a stronger economy as we graduate more and more Mississippi Techmasters. Thank you for attending this morning. I look forward to your support of this program, and I will always be proud, the proudest, to be an Ingalls shipbuilder from Mississippi. Thank you.
Well, as you can see, this is exciting, and it's based on what we've heard loud and clear from people all over the state. We've got to do something. We're graduating now 15% of the high school students in the high schools where we are. We're in 60% of the high schools as STEM-ready students, science, technology, engineering, and math. We think the numbers on this is going to exceed 35%. That's going to make a big difference in easing the dropout rate. That's going to make a big difference in putting Mississippi in the place of greatest opportunity. And what a great legacy, Irwin, to your leadership in taking the bull by the horns and getting this done. We've talked about it year after year after year. It took a man of action to help us get us together and get it done. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause again, folks.
We're announcing the Techmaster program, which is partnership with MEC and the folks in the state education organization to establish a curriculum for students who will satisfy a pretty rigorous course of study that will prepare them to take jobs in a skill like a welder, an electrician, a fitter, and give them an opportunity for a 40-year career.
Why is this program necessary?
It's necessary so that we can help the education system teach kids what they need to know to be successful craftspeople. And it will, from a business perspective, what it does is it makes our ability to assimilate these kids out of high school into the workforce more quickly, get them more productive faster, which is not only good for the companies, but also it will allow us to sell our products more affordably, in our case, to the federal government, which hopefully lets us sell more ships and grows the economy.
What are the job opportunities for students that participate in this program?
We're hiring welders, we're hiring electricians. We need skilled craftspeople. We're also, you know, there's no lack of requirements for accountants and engineers and folks that come through a four-year degree program, but I think we as a nation have not paid as much attention to growing the core competencies in the skills that allow us to build things, the things that allow us to be strong manufacturers in this country. And we invest a lot in cranes, and we invest a lot in rolling stock. Well, we also need to invest a lot in human capital. And this is an investment in the human capital that we need to operate those cranes and operate those welding machines. And so we are absolutely 100% committed to this program, and we hope that all of the businesses in the state of Mississippi are going to support it.
We've had great success in working on preparing students for college. But a lot of students don't want to go to college, but they want good jobs. And so what we want to do is work with schools to develop that core curriculum that students need to get a high school degree and to be able to get into getting the skill sets they need for skilled jobs. Whether it's working at Ingalls Shipyard or at Nissan or Toyota or even at Entergy where I'm with, a lot of skilled jobs are important. They need basic fundamentals of education, and that's what TechMaster's going to do.
Teacher pay has received a lot of attention recently. I have come out in support of an across-the-board pay. My thinking is this, and let me say this clearly, I am not opposed to merit pay. I support merit pay. I'm not for paying bad teachers, okay? I don't think they need to be in the classroom. I'm not for supporting bad teachers. Problem is, I don't know who they are. Identify them for me. Tell me who they are. Give me a list of their names, and I won't pay them this year. Problem is, nobody has presented that to me. I don't know who they are yet. We've implemented some merit pay measures. They are just now taking off. We don't yet know what that's going to produce. It could be 2 or 3 years before we understand or see or identify who those bad teachers are. In the meantime, our current teachers haven't had a pay raise in 7 years. It is my belief, and this is just my belief, that the overwhelming majority of teachers in our state are good. There are some bad ones, but there is a large pool over here of good teachers. I believe that. In my experience coming along, I can probably on one hand name you the bad teachers that I had. The overwhelming majority of teachers that I have were good, and I would dare say you are in the same situation. So we got this large pool of good teachers over here, and we got this small pool of bad teachers that we're trying to figure out who they are, and I am not for paying them. And I support a merit-based pay system. But until that comes into place and until we can identify who those are, we got this large pool over here that have not been paid for 7 years. And Mississippi's starting base pay is one of the lowest in the nation. If we're going to recruit and retain the best and the brightest teachers to stay in this state, we got to pay them. We got to get our base pay up. And base pay is different than merit pay. I'm all for getting the base pay up. Trying to keep the good ones. We're trying to encourage our best and our brightest to go into the field of education. We want them to do that. I want the best and the brightest teaching my kids. But if we're going to entice them to do that and have them stay here, we got to pay them. So this is something that we're looking at this year. I don't know where it's going to head, but I do believe we want to put more money into the classroom. I read a book recently. Donald Rumsfeld wrote it. Rumsfeld's Rules. Any of you read it? Okay. Not a very popular book, apparently. Maybe I need to rethink the ideas that I gained from it. I don't know. Donald Rumsfeld wrote a book called Rumsfeld's Rules, and in the book he talks about the tooth-to-tail ratio. If you think about a dog, what is the business end of the dog? It's the teeth, right? That's where the action occurs. The rest of the body just supports the teeth. the tooth to the tail ratio. You can apply that to the military, which, as you know, Donald Rumsfeld was our Secretary of the Military. He said the teeth are the people on the front line. The teeth are the people out there fighting the war. Everything else is just support. That's the tail. And what we try to do is to be efficient in what we're doing in the military by saying, how much support do we need to have to enable the teeth, the people on the front line, to do what they're doing? We need to minimize that. When he became Secretary of Defense, he learned that there were 11 levels of command between the Secretary of Defense and the front line. So when he gave an order as Secretary of Defense, it went through 11 channels before it reached the people on the front line. He said, that's inexcusable. That's ridiculous. It takes that long. Any of you ever played the telephone game in elementary school where you whisper in the ear and you figure out what it's like by the time it gets to the end? He said, that's what we're risking in the military. We got to eliminate all those chains of command between the tooth and the tail. Well, that's the way I liken this to the classroom. Where is the teeth? What is the teeth when it comes to education? It's that teacher in the classroom. We've got to put the money in the classroom. And that's what I'm talking about. I want to make sure that that teacher has everything she needs to educate your child. And we need to evaluate how much support is behind that and make sure we're efficient and lean. But most of the money needs to be going into that classroom. And fully funding MEP doesn't guarantee that. This is a measure by us to say we want the teachers to get that pay raise. We're demanding more of our teachers. Last year we passed a number of measures, third grade reading gate, for example, where we're expecting higher performance of our teachers. If we're going to demand more from the teachers, we need to pay them more. So the whole objective here is for us to put more money into the classroom, and that's what we support. We're going to continue to discuss that this year. All of this, of course, assumes that the money is available to do that. Revenues seem to be up, but we'll just have to see how it goes. If the money's not there to do it, we won't be able to do it. But hopefully the money will be there, and we would like to make sure that the money goes into the classroom. Finally, I see on your list there's transportation. We are taking a hard look at transportation. I want to make sure that our infrastructure is solid. Every business that we approach and attempt to attract to Mississippi asks us, what kind of infrastructure you got? Do you have roads? Do you have water? Do you have electricity? Do you have all the things that I need to bring? If I bring my company to your state, are you going to be able to supply what I need to make my business productive and successful? So we're taking a long, hard look at our roads and our bridges. I'm aware of a man in South Mississippi that has 400 acres of timber he's ready to cut. He's trying to get it to market. And both bridges leaving his property, if you come out of his property, either way you go on that road, both bridges, or I should say neither bridge, is able to support the weight that's going to take to get that lumber out. This man can't get his lumber to market because he doesn't have a bridge sufficient enough to support the weight that that's going to require. And I hear that from a lot of our agricultural industries, the cotton industry and others, when they bring these big weights out. So we're taking a long, hard look at our bridges and our roads, trying to make sure that the infrastructure is there to support those development opportunities.
It's an exciting time. We have a great year ahead of us. But I want to stop and talk about a couple of the positives that have happened in the last couple of years, because that will truly affect what will happen in 2014, particularly with the legislative outlook and the agenda that the Treasurer's Office has moving forward. I appreciate Scott kind of giving me that intro. We have been able to restructure debt of the state and save you, the taxpayers, $33 million in the first 2 years. We will continue to look at how we can streamline, how we can find ways to save dollars, whether it's small amount, large amounts, whatever the cost may be, but we'll look for cost savings and better ways to do things. We also found that we could cut our fees on all of our servicing by the amount of $600,000 a year. Well, that adds up pretty quickly. We've also looked at ways that we could turn around and do our investments. You know, we keep about $3 billion of your monies invested at all times through the State Treasurer's Office. So we've been able to, this year so far, have an income of $19.4 million, additional interest income that we've been able to successfully, with many of you partners, have that increase. And that is so important. because that's the foundation of how your bank runs. And many of you I talk to, I tell you that your bank is a $25 billion transactional bank a year. Many people don't know that that's what actually happens in the monies that are turned around in your state bank. But I want to talk about something following up with Dr. Wright about the rating agencies. You know, we had the rating agencies here this past year, and they came up with a continued rating of a AA, which for our state is still very positive. We've maintained that AA for many years, and that says that we are very good with our funds, that we pay timely, we do have monies put up aside in our rainy day, and of course we have some areas we'd like to work on. You know, ultimately I'd like to see our state get to a AAA. I think that should be the ultimate goal, is to get to a AAA. And what does that mean? It means we borrow money at a better rate. It means we have the opportunity to have better investors. So that's the goal for the State Treasurer's Office.
This is the structure of your state government. This is how we function today. There are approximately 204 agency boards and commissions in the state of Mississippi. The two blocks, the real small blocks that you see there, are where Governor Bryant has his 8 or 9 groups that report to him. You'll also see my group, Stacy's, Lynn's, Mike's, the other small block there of elected public officials. The big L-shaped one that you can hardly read all of the 204 are agency boards and commissions in the state of Mississippi. Of those agency boards and commissions in the state of Mississippi, only about 57 have removal. So if you're appointed to an agency board and commission, it's a good thing, because you can't be removed in Mississippi. About 3/4 of you can't, under any kind of circumstance. I want each of you to think about your own board of directors and how the stockholders come in every year and elect or don't elect, and how you rotate people on and off your board. Many of y'all are CEOs, of course, so it'd be nice if you were elected for life, but most of you have to answer to the stockholders. In Mississippi, when Bill Elaine fought with the legislature in 1983, he won the case that said Mississippi legislators could not be on boards and commissions. It was a constitutional conflict. From that, the next 30 years, we have created what you see here today. Agency boards and commissions run about 2/3 of every dollar spent in the state of Mississippi. They are the 4th branch of government. Most other governments only have 3, and we're blessed to have a 4th after the structure that evolved from the Elaine case. You wouldn't run a lemonade stand like this, and you wouldn't run your company like this. When we come forth, and you see the governor released yesterday some structural processes that he wants to do going forward. When you look at that, it'll be critical that MEC becomes part of the solution of that. Each of you have gone through a management structure. You know how things are going to work. Last thing I want to touch on briefly, and make sure I'm on time, voter ID. As you know, we have a voter ID, and it's coming out on June the 3rd. I started a website, so you can go on there and look up any questions. Our website works. It was done by the employees of the Secretary of State's office at no additional cost, which I think puts me a little bit over $1 billion ahead of Kathleen Sebelius. That being said, go to our website. We will be able, we have now, MDOT has been wonderful. We now will pick you up if you can't go to the circuit clerk's office. 2 weeks ago, I went all over the state of Mississippi. We installed cameras in every courthouse, 92 of them. They also have the capability of printing and showing your, issuing your voter ID there. If you can't get there, we'll pick you up for free and take you there. If you don't know anything other than your date of birth and your mother's maiden name, we'll check your birth certificate for free at every courthouse in the state of Mississippi. We have taken great lengths to make sure that we are constitutional, and this chapter of voting history in Mississippi will be closed after June the 3rd. And 10 years from now, most people won't ever know this. Thank you. In February, the governor will be announcing a registration month. Not only are we not restricting the voting by issuing voter IDs, we want to expand the number of people, and there are 300,000 Mississippians who are eligible to vote who have not registered to vote. We're going to ask them to register to vote. We're going to push out and make sure we have everybody registered to vote and everybody has an ID by June the 3rd. So we'd like to close, as has been my history since y'all hired me. I try to do these with a little levity when you start into big things. And we wanted to have commercials that were not in your face and really showed that we had a lot of expansion. So I'll show you this one right here. Do we have sound, please, ma'am?
Yes. What if I already have a driver's license?
Well, you won't need the new card if you have a driver's license or a U.S. passport, military ID, government-issued ID, an employee ID, a tribal ID, firearms license. Remember, if you already have an acceptable photo ID, you won't need a new one on June 3rd. College student ID. That's the first one. Call us and we'll drive you down to the circuit clerk's office and get you a free photo voter ID. Are there any questions?
Yes. What do I need to bring with me to get a free ID?
Well, you can bring your Social Security card, your birth certificate, your Medicare, Medicaid card, voter registration card, utility bill. Remember, if you already have an acceptable photo ID, you won't need a new one on June 3rd. A 10-year-old driver's license, a paycheck stub, a government check stub. Y'all enjoy your day. It's good to see you.
What I love about Capitol Day is a day of optimism. People who love this state that come together, and regardless of your ideas, you may have a different way to approach something. We come here for one goal. That's to make Mississippi better, and so we're excited about that.
If people have questions like more information about MEC, what should they do?
Two things. They can go to www.mec.ms. Our website has a lot of information on what we do. We really promote our businesses around the state, the great things that are happening around the state, but there's also information on how to be a part of MEC. One of the major initiatives we have is Blueprint Mississippi, which is really the action plan for our state going forward long term on how we're going to improve things. BlueprintMississippi.com is another option. They can go in, sign up to be a stakeholder in one of the areas that we focus on. That's educational achievement, economic competitiveness, resources, and technology. All of those things are so important as we move forward.